Hey there. Do you have people in the river of your life that you wait to engage with so that you can get yourself into a more regulated state? Or perhaps you have a lot of poisons you've had to drink in this life and you wait for the opportunity to pour some in their cup so that you might feel better and not have so much for you to drink. My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is the regulated. One of the things that Heather Feather does offer and does teach is self-reliance. Being able to rely upon the self. If you have an anxious attachment style and you're constantly desiring someone else to help you to feel secure in the relationship, you do not have a secure or a healthy attachment style. And it's not your partner's job to support you in feeling secure. Of course you can communicate. Of course you can, as you love one another, choose to find ways that will help one another to be in a more regulated state. But regulation is an inside job. It's not somebody else's job to support you in being regulated, to support you in making healthy choices, to support you in not being depressed. Now, there can be a tendency to mishear people when they start to articulate something that's often not spoken into the field. So let's be clear about what Heather Feather is and is not saying. I am not saying that if you're depressed, don't bother anyone with your problems. What I am saying is that there are many people at Earth School that are constantly talking about their issues and problems, constantly complaining, constantly viewing their past in their present moment and allowing it to hold space, even though it was toxic to them. And they are leaning energetically into the field of someone else to help regulate them, to help them feel better. They might even, I could just die. And they might be very dramatic and they might be really expanding into the field of other people's awareness, how intense their suffering is, having no regard for the other person that they're talking to and what that person is going through. Every human suffers. It's a constant teaching of Heather because humanity loves to focus on labels and go, this label suffers. There's a lot of what I would call white male hating in the modern age. And it's one of the number one groups to have severe depression and suicidal ideation. Many of those people that you're hating that also may be in the river of your life and be a friend of yours, may be putting a gun in their mouth every night, And so now culturally, we're just going to hate on all people with this label as if all two-leggeds do not suffer. And as if suffering is not painful and terrible, irrespective of how you have to face it or why you have to face it. And although all beings, I believe, deserve love and compassion and empathy and understanding and a willingness to consider, goodness, why do you suffer in this way? One of the things that Heather will soon be talking about is what it's meant for me to be such an extreme empath my entire life that I have literally taken on the suffering of others. And I'm not your hero. I'm not your counselor. You know what I mean? Although I am a shamanic counselor. So it's tricky because when you are a thing, when you are empathetic, when you are a generous listener, when you are compassionate, when you do have a high care factor about how others are doing around you. I care if you're suffering. I care about you. And if you suffer, I suffer too. If you're that type of being that has well-developed empathy and emotional intelligence, you may spend your life trying to make others feel better. But no matter how many pretzels you bend yourself into, it will never be your job for someone else to become in a regulated state, for someone else to choose their attention to be placed on that which brings them joy. I listened to an extremely toxic argument last night, and both individuals were clearly dysregulated, and it was aggressive, their interaction. And they are the light of love, and they forget themselves. And of all the things I could witness humanity do, my preference is always to witness the beauty and the medicine and the love and the glory that you be, so that I might echo the sentiment back to the heavens with thee. Look at the glory of your children. Anytime I see a beautiful thing occur, whether it's in a cafe, a sweetness, a kindness, a loving word, I always echo the sentiment back to the heavens, back to the angels, back to the allies. Look at this. I am witness to this beauty, and I want you to know how it blooms a rose in my heart to witness such a grace in this moment, in this part of my life as I witness these beings. But often Spirit has had me look upon the darkness of humanity. Now, my Dharma now is illumination. So I can't be the Dharma of illumination, and I can't bring light into the darkness without having a willingness to look at my own darkness, to look at my own shadow, to look at my own failings, and to look at humanity's, and to see where we are casting shadows, where we are ignoring that which needs attention. But one of the things Heather wants to consistently offer humanity in these videos, for however long they exist in the space-time delusion, it is this: self-love is an inside job. Self-love happens through self-respect. Self-respect occurs when you keep your word to yourself and you use your energy, which is what you are made of, and you use your consciousness, which is what you are made of, to move the self into greater and more regulated and more peaceful and more tranquil and more aligned with the authentic self designs of your lifetime. And no one else is coming to do that for you. No one else is coming. And a lot of relationships can be extremely codependent and extremely, I'm in a bad mood, I just got home, it's your job to cheer this up or to deal with it. Or like, I have chosen terrible consciousness, let me come pour some in your cup. And it's like, I'm not interested in your bitter medicine. I have my own bitter medicine I've had to drink today, my own ways I've had to work to re-regulate myself. And it doesn't mean that we can't be empathetic, we cannot be a compassionate ear, we cannot be sharing down here. What Heather is usually doing with her own life is deeply looking into the self, looking into my self-judgments, my self-recriminations, the things I wish I had done differently, the shadow aspects of self, aspects of me that I have a difficult time accepting. I'm looking into as well my graces, and the more I age, the more I put my eyes on this prize, the gift that I am, the offering that I be, what it means to be willing to be the light of truth and love when you enter a room, and what that means to everybody. You're welcome, life. You know what I mean? I am choosing this because I am the steward of my temple. I am the steward of where my attention is placed. Where is your attention placed? Is it placed on violence? Is it placed on darkness? And have you had a dark life and you're just going to fill, let's keep filling this up with darkness because it's where I'm calibrated to. It's my vibrational frequency, and it's the space in which I want to stew. It is your duty to regulate yourself into a peaceful and graceful state of health for every entity that you love in the river of your life. And it's just like saying, I can't work out and get a 6-pack or an 8-pack and hand it to you. If I do the exercise, I get the benefits of that, boo. Same is true for a book. I can't read it and have you know what it means. I can't come in and know exactly what you need physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually to be in a more regulated state. What have you been doing? Often if the waters of your heart are dark, and if they're a reflecting pool of darkness and pain and suffering, you'll find that the air of your mind has been blowing around all these loose papers of dark thoughts through dark consciousness, through social media, dark consciousness through news, dark consciousness through stewing in terrible stories. And Heather does her best to not tell terrible stories, but I also love to be honest and authentic. And sometimes the truth of what occurred is a terrible story, you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean never say this, but are you ever considering about the cup you are sharing? I have had people in the river of my life that they constantly want to offer me their poisons. I am not somebody that does that. If you know Heather Feather, if you're friends with Heather Feather, if you're very close to Heather Feather and you look at it, you'll find I haven't been calling you to assist me with the darkness that I process in this life, which has been an energy I've often had to stew in. And it's because I am self-reliant. I have all these books I can read. I have meditation I can do. I have yogic practices I can do. There are all types of medicines. I can shake my body, shake my legs. I can yell. I can go yell at the mountain. I can cry at the mountain. I can do all kinds of things to regulate myself. Go fly a kite, go kick rocks, whatever it is that will get me to be in a space in which I feel like a greater grace before I share Heather Feather with you. What is it you're willing to do to ensure that you be regulated in your primordial soup and stew? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. Heather Feather always loves your thoughts. I'm